you know, it is projected that over the next 20 years, Canada will see the biggest transfer of personal wealth between generations. Estimates of Canadian inheritance are up to $1 trillion, which is so much money. So Bruce Sellery is here to break this down. Bruce, that is a huge number. It's a number that makes me happy inside. But why is it so high?
It is a huge number. I don't know why it makes you happy inside. People are going to be dying, but whatever. I mean, it is a big number for three main reasons. Number one, real estate prices. Holy moly. These people bought houses, 20, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. And when they pass, they're going to sell that real estate and it's going to be worth a whole heck of a lot more. Second of all, the stock market has been on a tear. So the nest egg that they haven't spent will be worth a lot of money. And third, this is a generation that was raised in the Great Depression. They save elastic bands and newspapers and string. They haven't spent anything. So we're not only going to inherit $1 trillion, we're also going to inherit about 4 million mason jars that are sitting in the basement, and we're going to have to figure out some way to use them.
Go under the mattress, look under the mattress. There is money there. So what needs to happen for people to be ready for this?
There needs to be a will. We have talked about this a million times. There needs to be a will. Every single adult needs to have a will, whether you have children or not. Mm-hmm. Second, there needs to be a conversation about what is in the will. So you need to, have your heirs look at this, talk about it so that they know what is in it. And third, there needs to be some planning about things that are outside the will, because it's a legal document. It covers a lot of stuff, but it doesn't cover who gets the particular family heirlooms, and if that's going to be contentious, you want to get ahead of that. It also doesn't include digital assets, so someone's got to figure out what happens to mom's Facebook account.
Oh my gosh, that is a whole other layer I had never thought of. So I want to talk about the obligation now. Should parents be leaving something for kids to inherit?
Some parents feel that obligation, and in fact, it alters how they spend money in the final chapter of their life. Some kids believe that it is the obligation of the parents to leave something to them. So it really is a values question, and it's connected to really what's going on in your family culture. In my family, it was always clear that there would be support through post-secondary education, but nothing afterwards. And so values is one thing. Circumstances are another, right? If the parents have a large estate and the kids could benefit from that estate, that's different than if they have a large estate and the kids have also amassed significant wealth. So you've heard probably about this thing called the giving pledge. This is where the billionaires decide that they're going to give 80% of their money to charity. Well, that can happen on a smaller scale too. Some families, some parents will say, listen, I'm going to give a good portion of this legacy to charity and not necessarily all to the kids. Now, it's a lot of circumstances where the kids really could use the money, and those circumstances may say, yeah, actually, providing that inheritance to the children directly is going to be the best thing.
Okay, so you mentioned post-secondary, help with post-secondary. There are parents who decide that they want to gift early. So could be your education, could be a house down payment. What do you think of that?
Well, there's this expression that it is better to give with a warm hand than a cold one, right? And I think we're certainly seeing that in the real estate market. Part of the reason house prices have been able to rise so high is that parents are cutting the check for the down payment, because really there's no other way for a 27-year-old to buy $1 million house. There are pros and cons to that. Pros are the parents get to see that gift. In actuality, they get to visit that house. There's a benefit that they might get that gift 20 to 30 years earlier. Now, there are some downsides or some challenges too. One is if that gift is spent on the matrimonial home, it becomes part of the family assets. And in the event of a divorce, your son or daughter would be at risk of losing that half. So that's, something to keep in mind. The other challenge is parents don't know how much money they're going to need in their lifetime. And so I worry about parents gifting that money and not saving enough for what may be a decade or two of long-term care. So I think you need to really think about it fully.
Okay, does the inheritance have to be fair?
Fair is such a great word. I don't know how many siblings you have. I'm one of 6. So fair and equal are two different things. And I think it's easier to go down the path of equal because within most families, there's a spectrum for the net worth of the kids. There's some who might be here and some who might be here. And it is a very, very big question, and grown-ups need to think that through. One of the other really tough dynamics, though, are on assets with an emotional connection. So, for example, a family property, a cottage, a cabin, a farm. How do you deal with those things, especially if there is one child in that family who has an affinity for that place, like uses the family cottage, or who actually works the family farm? So all that needs to be discussed early because it really could break a family apart after you're gone, which would be heartbreaking.
It really can. Okay, so how do the kids prepare for an inheritance?
If you receive an inheritance, even if it's, listen, if it's $20,000 or $2 million, you want to take a moment, maybe more than a moment, maybe a full year, and think about what your goals are and where that inheritance would fit with that. And also whether or not that legacy is going to be something that you assess in the context of the person who gave you that money. So, for example, some families will spend that money on a way that would honor or reflect the relative who gave them that money.
Okay, that is really good information there, Bruce. And it's always so good to get clarification on this stuff from you because, yeah, you keep it very clear.